Well, Southern Echo was founded in 1989 as a part of an elongated conversation, a very elongated conversation between Hollis Watkins, old SNCC member who still lived in Mississippi, Michael Sear, who also was a SNCC person who had come down from the north, the big north, New York City, so that's a big thing for the South, right? So he was a real Yankee, as a part of the process. And we had this year-long conversation about what was needed. And the need is that we needed to be part of redistricting and the census work, right? We needed to have community a part of a process that allowed for community to have the skills and tools to be effective participants in the redistricting process. Because we knew that if we could get folks involved, that we could change the dynamics and change the dynamics of the state so that we could get to policy at the state level. And so for us, how do we do that, right? And so first thing we said, well, we need a training institute, right? We needed a training institute because one of the things that the experts said to us is that community people were too poor, too stupid to understand this great big thing called redistricting. These were the lawyers and the demographic folks who were telling us this, right? And we were saying, part of the problem is you got to trust people, right? And you got to trust that everybody, given some learning, can have the skills and tools to be a part of the process. They may not be able to draw the best plans in the world, and they may not be able to create legal theory, but again, if they can't carry out legal theory, then what's the good of it? And so for us, we were saying, let's do the training, let's get community involved, let's make that happen. And so what we did was, we did trainings for thousands of community folks across the state of Mississippi, right? And they were the ones. They became engineers, they became architects, they became construction people. Because what they did was they were able to come out of this process and draw lines, right? They were the architects, right? And drawing lines for districts that they own and they felt good about, right? And so they were the builders of the building, right? They were the folks who designed the building, so they were the architects. And then they were the construction crew who then developed it, right? And then after they had built it, then they said, okay, we now need to decide who goes in it, because we don't want anybody in our house, right? We don't want anybody in the home that we created. And that was the important part, because it then changed the whole dynamics of the state of Mississippi, specifically the politics, because we doubled the size of the Mississippi, the caucus, the Mississippi Black Caucus, the Legislative Black Caucus, in one election because of community. We went from 21 in 91 to 42 in 92, right? It was just tremendous, right? And we were still, to this date, going through to the 2007 elections, right? Back in 92, 91, we drew a legislative body for the state legislature that had 50 seats. And in 2007, and that was the highest number possible, right? Highest number possible. In 1992, in 2007, we got 50 seats, right? See, that's what we're talking about, not just being a moment, but a movement. From 92 to 2007, 15 years of movement. Not 15 years of talking about what that one moment was in 92, but 15 years of movement towards a plan that was set in motion in 1992. And I just don't think that you can think more about that than what we really have. It's not about one moment that we can celebrate, right? We want to celebrate all of our victories, but we also know on the other side of that moment is the work that has to continue to happen. And in order to build movement, you got to have the work that continues to happen over time, over space, over people. Sometimes the wrong people, you got to build a highway over them, right? So our argument is that our work has been one that's been movement building, right? We built monuments over people because that's what we needed to do. And other times we built monuments under people to raise them up so they could be who they needed to be and being part of the process in a very, very different way. And so that gets us straight back to the governance part. We had to create new models of government. Not saying we want to change democracy, but we want to make democracy real. And in making democracy real, you really got to put people at the forefront of it, because it is the forefront of democracy, because the root word is demos, and demos means people. And that's what we're about, the people.